I have really learned what to watch out for when I'm talking to a potential applicant. Now, this would cover from their application letter to their actual interview to a test that I give them to make sure that they are actually someone who knows the skill that they're supposed to be hired for. Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, my goal is that at the end of this video is to be able to walk you guys through what are the signs that you are hiring or about to hire the right employee. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I've been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run my own outsourcing company, 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday on videos on how to work from home and every Thursday on videos on how to have an online business. So make sure to hit subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, in the last video, I talked about what are the red flags when it comes to hiring someone online. Now, in this video, I will talk about the reverse. What are the good signs that will tell you if a candidate is right for you and your business? Now, for someone who's been hiring online for the past 5 years and literally have an outsourcing company where I hire executive assistants for a lot of our clients, I have really learned what to watch out for when I'm talking to a potential applicant. Now, this would cover from their application letter to their actual interview to a test that I give them to make sure that they are actually someone who knows the skill that they're supposed to be hired for. So make sure to watch until the end of this video so you guys get all of the checklists or check boxes that I have in my head of how we've been able to really match the right assistant to our clients based on a few pointers that I always keep in mind when I'm hiring. Now, the first thing that will tell you if you're hiring the right candidate is they have followed the instructions so far. What I mean by this is if you've put on filters on your job process. So for example, let's say that you told them, hey, make sure you have this subject line on the email when you send your application letter. Make sure that you send in a sample portfolio when you send in your application letter. If there's someone who follows those instructions really clearly, or even better, asks you for clarity on what it is that you're looking for, you know that they are the right candidate. This means that once they are actually hired, they are someone who follows instructions, they're someone who has attention to detail, and they're also someone who can ask you questions more about it. They're not just someone who doesn't read instructions when they're there. They're someone who pays attention, takes in the details, and actually acts on it. Next is they share your business values. Now, for 2XU, a lot of our values include someone who is kindly confident, someone who is passionately curious, and someone who is a systems ninja. And for me, whenever I do interviews, I always check for the different values that we have. And if someone fits at least 3.5 of the way out of the 5 core values that we have, and they're trainable in the other 2, they're interested in learning more about it, then I know that they can be a right fit. And there's a reason why they're still there. So I really encourage you to look at your core values, and if you don't have any, try to imagine what are the different values that you need for someone to be able to be successful in your company. For example, for us, passionately curious is an executive assistant has to be someone who wants to dig in, someone who wants to get the right information. So if someone doesn't follow the instructions, if someone doesn't research us beforehand, that is a sign for me that they're not a right fit. So have some sort of scorecard that you will measure applicants against depending on the different core values that you have, whether they're still going through the application letter stage or they're actually doing the interview with you. Next is, aside from aligning with your core values, they need to align with your company goals. Now, what this means is during the interview process or maybe during their application letter, if they state what their goal is, it has to kind of just be a good match or there's some sort of intersection point between their dreams and your goals for the business. So for example, for me, one of the goals that I have for our business is to have our assistants become kind of like the head of operations for our clients' businesses. Now, if someone doesn't align with that, if they have other plans that doesn't align with that, then I know that they're not the right candidate for us. There has to be some sort of intersection where your paths actually cross, that it makes sense that you guys work work together. That it's not just them being able to give you value as an employee, but you as the employer, you're giving them value as well. So what has happened is most of our assistants are actually entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs, or they want to start their own business in the future. And that makes sense for us because we want someone who, again, is head of operations of someone else's business. They get to learn how a business is built and grown. So we align in that way. So you have to find employees or candidates where their goals, again, there's some sort of alignment. Now, there might be a point where you kind of are aligned for a little bit and you kind of have to drop off, or they drop off just because it's not a match anymore. But that's something that can be talked about in the future. There has to be, again, some sort of intersection that it makes sense for you guys to work together. Next is that they have researched your business. What I mean by this is, as the applicant goes further into your applicant funnel, is they actually understand what it is that you do when you ask them, or during the interview process when you ask them like, hey, what do you know about the company? They can actually give you a good base understanding of what it is that you do. The reason why this is so important is when they're actually hired, they become the best kind of people to work with because they know how to research, they know how to learn how to understand concepts maybe that they've never gone through before, or they know how to ask around. So these kinds of employees, when you actually have them, will help you grow your business because they're the kind of people who want to get information before they move anything forward. The next sign that the candidate is right for you is they actually follow up. Now, this is something that I teach my own students, and this is something that I teach our assistants, is the power of following up. When someone follows up on their application, even though they just sent their application letter, I know that they're interested. I know that they're willing to do more than the usual applicants that we get who don't follow up at all. When an applicant follows up, it shows them that one, they've tracked who they've sent applications to. That means that you weren't just one of the 100 emails that they sent their application letter to. It also means that they're the type of person who asks for clarity on where they're at on their position. They're not just someone who just throws things out there to the universe and hopes for some sort of response, or worse, hoping that someone else is going to chase after them. Next is they're enthusiastic about the job, or they just care. One of the best applicants that I've gotten is someone who actually gave feedback on the website. Someone who actually did the research and was willing to even say, hey, did you notice there was a typo here? Or, hey, did you notice that the menu doesn't show up when I click this? This means that there's someone who already is a little bit invested in the company. There's someone who's willing to take that extra step to help the company out, even though they're not hired yet. If you find people like this, these are people who will challenge you, but in a good way. Next, and I cannot underestimate how good this part is the interview has a good flow. What I mean by this is there's an actual conversation going back and forth between you and the interviewee when you're doing that interview portion. That means that it's not just you asking them questions, they're also asking you questions about the company, about who you are, about how it is that they can help you in the business. Now, it could be as short as asking for feedback on how they went on the interview. It could be just a back and forth of like, hey, tell me more about the company, or tell me more about this part, or tell me more about how it is that my position is helping your company. It could be anything, as long as it's not just a one-sided thing that you're just keep asking them questions. They are also asking you really good questions about the company. Applicants like this usually are people who are good communicators, who are conversationalists, which brings me to my next point, which is a good hire has really good communication skills. Now, communication skills is a really important soft skill, especially if you're working online, especially if you have that employee work remotely. You're not going to be able to look over their shoulder to see what it is they're working on. You're not going to be able to tell just by the look on their face if they're struggling with something. They have to be someone who is forthcoming, who asks you, hey, I'm stuck with this. Hey, can you give me more clarity on this? Or they can be clear with their ideas. That way, misunderstandings will happen less and less as you guys get to know each other better. Speaking of better, the next sign that a candidate is the right one for you is they are willing to learn. Now, I cannot underestimate, again, the power of hiring someone on your team who is willing to learn, who knows that what they know is never enough. There's always something else to improve on. There's always something else to know. So how do you find this out from a candidate? One is you just ask them what are the things that they've always wanted to learn more about, whether that's a skill, that's a topic, that's, learning more about a hobby that they're super obsessed about, or that they're just someone who's also interested in self-development or personal development. You can find this out by if there's someone who likes to read books, if there's someone who likes to work on themselves and not just be limited or feel limited by where they're at. And last but not the least at all is they have good teamwork. Now, how can you find out if someone has really good teamwork skills or even leadership skills on the application process? One is you can literally ask past employees or past coworkers that they've had and ask them if they were a good coworker to them. Second is you can actually ask them during the interview a series of questions to get to know this part. One is just asking them how their coworkers would describe how it is to work with them, which they would usually highlight strengths of theirs, but you can tell just how they describe themselves from other people's point of view, how it is that they contribute to a team. Or you can ask them how they would usually manage a team of people and how to make sure that a project runs smoothly. So these are different interview questions that you can ask, but this is so essential because later on, even though they might be your first hire, you might be getting more and more people in your team. And you want someone who is, of course, a team player, not someone who is just going to leave people up in the air just because they don't want to talk that day. You want someone who is willing to engage with the people that you already might have in your business or willing to engage with people that you might have in your business. Now, let me know in the comments below, what are your signs that you have hired the right candidate? Now, if you guys enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button right there. And if you still haven't, make sure to hit subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday on how to work from home, which you guys can check out right here, and videos on how to run online business, which you guys can check out right here, and the news video right here. Now, hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!